At this point, it's just on brand to be tardy to the party. See, yeah, obviously this happened. Fuck, like about a month ago. But I remember when like Tosh.0 came out. When Tosh.0 was a thing, you could joke about literally anything, about any race, any religion, any color, any creed. You could joke about it all because the point was if you found the jokes offensive or if you spurred out at the person for telling a joke, you became the joke, right? At least outside of comedy. Like inside of comedy, it's just funny. Like racist jokes are hilarious simply because, you know, because they're what's the word, taboo, which is what made Tosh.0 successful. You know, I'm looking at other comedians, Gabriel Iglesias. I don't even know if Jimmy Kimmel, damn, was one of them. But I look at Jimmy Kimmel, right? I look at the past things he did when he was still on board, and it's like he doesn't joke around. Like the next thing is what his whole brand is. How you're supposed to feel about a thing, and how you're supposed to react to a thing, and it's like, wait, aren't you a comedian? Aren't you supposed to be funny? I mean, maybe there's a couple jokes in there, but and you see this with like actors and actresses, like they all have the same political opinion. And Jimmy Kimmel's no exception. He has opinions about things, but as a comedian, and I'm looking at the numbers, right? He's just sort of fallen off. Oh, I guess we're in a completely different culture now, where if you joke about something, it means because you actually don't like that thing and you want to make jokes about it. It's like, well, that's not how people thought in the past, right? That's not how people thought on South Park. Hell, even look at the new South Park, and it's just kind of meh. And I was thinking, oh, maybe I've just grown old. But no, I legitimately looked at older episodes, and they were so fucking hilarious. So it's like, what is this thing where being edgy and funny, like, where the fuck did that go? Well, obviously it went away because, you know, liberal white women had a problem with it, and the HR had a problem with it, and these people, they really want to police how people act and how they think. So they'll go to use extremes to do it. They'll be like, oh, if you joke about, like, make racist jokes, it's because you're racist. Or if you make sexist jokes, it's because of your sex. It's things that are, at first you wouldn't really think about, but then they surround themselves with other people that think like them. And, I mean, you just don't want to fucking deal with these types of people. Right, but it's difficult when they're fucking everywhere and you don't know. Like, you think as a human being you can have a normal human interaction with people, but that never happens because, one out of three times you have to face that individual and they shit on you at work, talk about you, and complain about you and get you fucking called to HR. And it's like, well, what the fuck, man? So, and this kind of expanded throughout culture and media and entertainment, and eventually it hit, comedy. And it's not the fact that you're supposed to have an opinion, you're supposed to feel a way about things. It's just there's jokes you're not allowed to make, which is like, well, why? The thing that is funny, the thing that is edgy, like people want to watch, abrasive things like the Will Smith slap at the Grammys. Like a lot more people tuned into that than they ever did about any of like the movies he filmed in the past 5 or 6 years, because it's entertaining is what people want to see, and what people want to see in their entertainment and what they want to deal with are two separate things. But then you have the individual that thinks, oh no, the way you think, the way you act, the way you present yourself is all interconnected, regardless of who you're presenting yourself to and where. And that's where you hit the point where you have comedians that just cannot be funny. But Jimmy Kimmel was put in an odd situation, right? Because he was let go from, what was it, the ABC network? I can't even fucking remember. It's been so long. He was let go from the network he was on, the Late Night Show, I think it's called. And people think, oh, it's because he shat on Charlie Kirk and Republicans, and it's like, well, that's probably partially the reason, but of the other reason was he was getting low ratings. He wasn't funny. He sucked up hours and didn't really get anything out of it. And above that, he also doubled down on talking against Republicans. And it's like, companies are very cold and calculative. Like when it was cool and hip to talk about Republicans, they were all down for it, but now it's not. And now they're like, okay, Jimmy, right? You should stop doing this. And I do believe they came to him and talked about this, and then he doubled down, and they're like, all right, well, we're gonna have to let you go. And the Charlie Kirk thing is a whole situation. It's odd to see people with their real face, real account, personal accounts, celebrating the death of just some dude that may had some stupid opinions. It's odd. Like, is that something Republicans do? Like, when's the last time they celebrated the death of an American citizen? I mean, God, you probably have to go back hundreds of years. But but anyway, it's like with Jimmy Kimmel again. He doubled down. He was getting low ratings. He wasn't pulling in numbers, and that makes you a risk in this current climate. And because of that, I can 100% understand why they sort of kept him on the leash, and then was like, well, because you become effectively shit for the flies to fly on. Well, now we gotta let you go. And it's odd how a lot of left wingers, a lot of Democrats are screaming free speech, and it's like, well, for the past 4 or 5 years, this is the culture you wanted. The culture of people who, if they said something you didn't like, regardless of what that thing was, right? I'm not drawing any distinction, and and we mean just talking. Formulating the things in your brain into words and saying, like, people should be policed on what they say, and if they say the thing you don't want, they should go after them and fire them. And now all of a sudden they're making the free speech argument. It's like, if people are going to use your values against you, well, then maybe you should, I'm going to put my values in my pocket and be like, hey, this is what you wanted. This is probably, I don't know if this is what Jimmy Kimmel wanted. I mean, I've never watched him. He's just, I'm going to be frank, the last couple times I've even heard this guy existed was like 2015 at one point. And now, when he got let go, and people were screaming free speech, it's like, that's very interesting, very, very, very interesting. And it's odd that, like, I don't know how much he was made here, but he was, the figurehead of the late night show for ABC. I don't know how much money he made, but he definitely fell down the same rabbit hole that most Hollywood actors have. And because of that, I guess I can't be surprised he was let go now. Like, they kept him on this whole time until now. But what's my opinion? I mean, I don't know. If you're not going to rake in value for the company that you're working at some point, you probably shouldn't work there. And you should probably have just been funny, right? Like, I'm looking at, like, I don't, he doesn't really fit. I guess he's an actor. He does act a lot. He's on a TV show. It's like, what's the political opinions of Arnold Schwarzenegger? Nega, you know, on, I don't know what was happening in like 2011, like I think that was the war in Afghanistan, or we were in the Middle East. It's like, what is his opinion on that? Who the fuck knows? All I cared for was his acting. But now, the thing is, to wear your political opinions on your sleeves, and not only that, everyone needs to hold the exact same opinion about everything, and with no deviation whatsoever. And people can tell when it's forced and fake, and that's kind of like the one time I've seen his shit. That's kind of how I felt it was. It just wasn't fun or entertaining or funny. It was him saying the thing he needs to say to his audience, and they clap like seals. So what's my opinion? Well, not surprising. At least not in this climate. Maybe, the past 4 years they kept him on, but now the tides have changed, and you kind of got to change with them. There's a flow you got to go towards. He was going against the flow, and, if you want to be the, uh, you know, cold, calculative individual that he presents right here, he could have just shut the fuck up about it, but he decided not to, and, well, you got to ask for it. But anyway, that's all I got to say about this. Peace.